So what's going on, guys, and welcome everybody back to a brand new video on the channel, and I hope you guys are doing well. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at the top 10 biggest noob mistakes that you make in Tarkov and how to avoid them and fix them. Tarkov, especially in the beginning, is all about trial and error. You're going to make mistakes, you're going to learn as you play, and watching other players do things that maybe you weren't aware that you could do, and maybe some specific techniques that you haven't quite learned yet. A lot of these are going to be included in this video, but we're going to be talking about the 10 biggest mistakes that you can avoid, not only as a beginner player, but maybe an intermediate and just something to help you learn more about the game. So if you guys do go on to enjoy today's video, a like rating would be absolutely awesome. It is free to you and it helps me out a ton. Subscribe if you are brand new to the channel and you want to see more Tarkov videos like this. I have plenty more to come, so make sure to stick around and stay tuned. And also, guys, my live streams are over on Twitch if you want to watch some Tarkov and other games and just come hang out with me. That is all linked down below in the description. But starting off here today, coming in today at the number 10 spot is going to be overlooting. Now, this is quite an easy mistake to make as a beginner player, and I think that this is almost unavoidable for anybody who's just getting their wings in Tarkov and sort of in that beginner stage. This is something that will happen to you. Now, the term overlooting can actually fall into a couple of different categories. This can either mean you spending way too much time looting, just simply standing there, maybe looting a body and leaving yourself out in the open and exposed for anybody else to see you and get picked off really easily, or this could also mean you just spend too much time taking a lot of the stuff that you don't need, which we're going to get into more detail later. But overlooting is a classic fatal mistake in this game, and again, it's something that's fairly common to make, and even some experienced players will do it from time to time just if they get kind of caught up, organizing their backpack and whatnot. A good way to avoid this mistake is to only take the bare essentials and what you need, especially when it comes to looting a scav or a player that didn't necessarily have a lot of equipment on them. It's only good to take the things that you absolutely need, and if you feel you may be in danger, especially then, because you want to play it safe. And if you have the time, obviously, and you feel like you're relatively safe, of course you can go through their loot with a fine-tooth comb and really get all the stuff you need. But other than that, I would always say value your life over any loot whatsoever. Coming today at the number 9 spot is going to be camping in exfil locations. So within all of the maps, there are multiple exfils that basically anybody can escape out of. You may have ones that are particular for you that game, and what players tend to do is they know the locations that other players are going to have to go to, and where they will end up ultimately at the end of the day, and they camp those out waiting for those players to arrive, kill them, take their loot, and hopefully make it to their exfil. The only problem with this is generally, depending on where your location is and what map you're playing, you can camp any exfil, but you most likely won't have enough time to make it back to your exfil and escape. So it ends up being a pointless opportunity. Even if you do manage to get their loot and get out alive, if you get held up in any gunfight or something happens along the way where you need to stop and either heal or take some time, you're probably not going to make it. So camping exfils, unless you really know what you're doing, in my opinion, is not a good idea. I would always just sort of run your route while you're learning the game. Play it as safe as possible, especially when you're getting your bearings. Coming today at the number 8 spot is a pretty easy mistake to make, and this is going to be selling a lot of your items to the wrong traders. Now, as there are a bunch of different traders in this game that are useful for different things and will buy at higher rates than others, basically you need to know what items are going to be the most valuable per each trader, because multiple traders may be interested in purchasing the same item from you, but they're going to be at much different rates. And a lot of the times, if you don't know exactly what you're doing, you may end up selling to the wrong trader who would just basically give you less for your item, effectively screwing you over. And so if you want a full rundown and a guide onto how you should trade your items out to sellers, then I have a link in the description you can see on screen right now. There is basically a full chart of a guide to all of the different sellers within the items in the game, so it's really useful. I would definitely reference that. For the most part, you got to know that, for example, therapist is probably your go-to for meds and like food items and stuff like that, and then when it comes to weapons and attachments, those are going to be your other ones. Prepor will mostly buy essentially everything, but he's not going to give you a very high rate, so little things like that you'll need to know. Again, link is in the description if you want to read up on that full chart and know exactly what you're doing there. All right, guys, taking number 7 is a pretty easy mistake to make. This is being very trigger happy. You need to know in Tarkov when to be patient and to hold your fire, because this isn't a game where, you can basically shoot freely with no consequences. Every time you fire a bullet in this game, you're not only expending all of your ammunition, but you're also giving away your position potentially and setting yourself up to be shot as well. So you really need to know when to hold your trigger and then when it's appropriate to fire, because when you get caught reloading or if you run out of ammo and your opponent knows that, you're pretty much done for if they know how to make a play on you. What you should do just generally, and especially when you sneak up on another team, is you should coordinate with your squad who's going to take what, and then wait for the opportune time to strike, because if you miss it maybe by just a second, your plans could be foiled, they could spot you, and then this whole thing could be turned around on you. So you really need to be very patient with your gun in this game and know when exactly to shoot. This is going to come with a lot of game time as well, so a good way to practice this is just play the game. But as a whole, be very conservative with the shots you're putting out. That's all I'm going to say. Coming today at the number 6 spot is going to be, it's sort of a general tip, but it's bringing in the wrong equipment. Now, for example, there can be times where you're bringing in certain ammunition into your game, even with the same gun, that's going to be less effective against the enemies you're fighting. For example, if you feel like you may run into a lot of armored players with armor such as level 6, then maybe the bullets that you're running aren't necessarily cut out to be armor piercing, and they're going to be better against scavs for flesh piercing instead. You never know exactly what you're going to run into, so and generally speaking, it's good to be prepared for all situations, but bringing the wrong equipment in is a very easy thing to do. Basically, knowing the map you're playing is very crucial to that as well. Either overstocking on meds or not bringing enough ammo it all falls under the umbrella of bringing in the wrong equipment. And so this takes a lot of careful thought before jumping into a game. It's really good to get to know your maps first and also the type of enemies that you may be facing during this battle. But once you sort of figure out how all of the maps generally work, this becomes much more simple to do so on a consistent basis. Coming today at the number 5 spot is a very big gunfighting mistake that a lot of noobs make, and this is basically peeking the same angle, and especially in a very tight gunfight where you know your enemy is watching that corner. Now, even scavs are very good at this, for example, where if you peek a scav from the same spot more than once, they're likely just going to completely rip your head off. Even though scavs are AI, don't underestimate the fact that they will wait for you to re-peek that angle again, even if it's just for a slight second. They're going to be absolutely on that. Real players tend to know that as well. More experienced guys will hold an angle that they saw you at because they know that most players are likely to at least check that again, and if they're quick enough with their reflexes, they're able to take them out or at least put significant damage on them. So a lot of this game comes down to repositioning after you've spotted an enemy and keeping them on their toes and then getting the advantage as far as position. So never peek the same angle twice, and certainly if you get hit from that angle. Coming today at the number 4 spot is going to be having awareness in your environment. Now, this is a very easy mistake to make as well, getting sort of oblivious to what's going on around you. Now, this isn't something you should feel bad about if it happens very often, because this game is quite overwhelming. There's often a lot of gunfights happening where you can recognize the sound of the weapon because you can't obviously see who's using it, but you could get a reasonable estimation as to where they might be if you hear their gun. Also, seeing things like loot already being taken or doors opened is a big one, for example. You can know where players may have gone depending on which way the door is opened, so that's also a really good thing to keep your eye out for. Just environmental awareness is a really huge thing as far as keeping you safe. The very best way to get better at this is, again, just a lot of play hours where you'll figure out what things are and what they mean. It also requires you to learn the maps to some degree. But overall, keeping a very heightened sense of awareness up is always going to be a good thing for you and a positive in the long run. All right, taking our number 3 spot is inventory mismanagement, a very, very classic noob mistake in this game. Now, your inventory can be a little bit hard to determine what you need to take and what things you don't need. Now, again, a lot of game hours is going to help you determine what things are valuable and what isn't. So, unfortunately, there's not just a simple rule you can follow that's going to make your life easier with this, but generally, you'll know how to inventory manage with taking only valuable items, but also just keeping the things sort of laid out in your inventory correctly. For example, keeping your magazines at least one slot open so when you reload, you don't accidentally drop the current magazine that you're using. If you do that as well, if you double tap R to fast reload, you're going to drop it no matter what, so that actually doesn't matter if you're watching inventory space. Also, keeping all of your valuable items in your container rather than on your person or in your pockets is a really good call as well, because if you do die for some unexpected reason, you're not going to lose those items if they're in that container. Keeping most of your magazines and some meds in your pockets and on your person is a really good idea, and then keeping all of your peripherals, maybe food and water and splints, stuff like that, can go in either your container or your backpack, and it's generally fine. But inventory mismanagement can be a very easy mistake to make, but it's going to take a lot of practice to really get proficient and good with it. But if you put in some hours, you'll figure out exactly what to do. Taking our number two spot today, guys, is going to be misusing your movement. Now, again, this is quite an easy mistake to make because this comes with a lot of environmental awareness as well. These things tie in very well together. Your player's movement is a crucial part of how safe you can stay. Basically, your movement speed, what materials you walk on, and also how much noise you're making. Being at a conscious level of that all the time is a good thing to keep an eye out for. When walking through grass and shrubbery, it's very important to stay low and walk slow because all of the brushes that your character puts on those trees and stuff will make a lot of noise, and so you can even be identified by the sound of the material that your footsteps are walking on. So you really got to be mindful of where you are, potentially where other enemies are as well, and use your movement correctly. Leaning while in gunfights to protect your body can also be a life-saving maneuver. Crouching and proning out when necessary is also something that is very good for your safety, and so using your movement and then getting all of that stuff down, being a little bit more fluid with it, and especially knowing when to jump and stuff like that is all comes with part of the game, and learning the maps too. Try and use your movement as proficiently as possible and make the least amount of noise while getting to your places in the quickest amount of time possible. That's pretty much the goal there. Be as quick as you possibly can, but also be as silent as you possibly can as well. But anyways, guys, coming in today at the number one spot, one of the biggest mistakes that noobs tend to make in Escape from Tarkov is tunnel vision. And it turns out tunnel vision may be the single-handedly most deadly mistake that a player can make in this game. The idea of a tunnel vision is essentially where you get so caught up doing one action that you seem to miss or just completely block out all of the other things that are happening around you. For example, you can get tunnel vision while looting, especially while cherry picking a body such as a scav or another player that may have a lot of stuff. What you may not notice is while you're busy gathering all that loot and taking the things that you need, another squad could be repositioning and converging on you that you completely miss out on because you're not paying attention. The same can go with gunfights. If you're too busy fighting somebody and so engaged on taking that person or that squad down, you can become so enamored and so engaged in that particular gunfight that you miss very important context clues that are ultimately going to lead to your demise. And basically, a good way to avoid tunnel vision is every couple of seconds, honestly, even pull out of a gunfight to check your surroundings, make sure you're still good. While you're looting, maybe make sure you do like a one-over check to make sure nobody's repositioning on you. This is a really good safety tip. I cannot stress enough how important it is and imperative that you keep aware of your surroundings and do everything in your power to make sure that you keep that in check. But anyways, guys, that is going to be the video for today. I hope you guys did enjoy this, and I really hope you learned something from it. If you did, please make sure to give the video a like rating, subscribe if you are new to the channel, and also, guys, if you want to catch my live streams, they will be over on Twitch. Link to that is in the description down below. And if you guys want some people to play Tarkov with, I'm going to leave the link to my public Discord in the description, and you guys can go over there. Feel free to jump in there and try and make some friends, play some Tarkov with people, and learn the game. All that stuff will be linked down below, but I hope you guys enjoyed today. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. I gotta go. Take it easy, guys, and peace out.